Good morning. My name is Bob Woodfill, and I'm going to review the Hawken Shop kit today and show you some of the features that you get when you buy a Hawken Shop kit. And then I'm going to show you a completed rifle, what a completed rifle looks like, and hopefully you can get to that point. Maybe just a little bit of background. I have been going to Friendship since 1957. And I had a booth down in the sheep shed. And lo and behold, this crazy guy from St. Louis came up named Art Russell. And he had a whole bunch, and I say a whole bunch, I mean 5 or 6 or 8 original Hawken rifles of various styles. And he would show them and let people look at them and feel them and all that. And I saw these big heavy barrel guns with ramrods, and oh boy, buffalo hunting ran through my mind, and I couldn't, I was caught, and I've been caught ever since. And several years I didn't work on it, and I'm back now where I've put together a pretty good collection of copies of rifles. Now, I don't own any Hawkens, because a Hawken rifle, might start at $25,000 and go up. The one that belonged to Teddy Roosevelt sold the other day for $1.3 million. So where you want to be in there, and I'm not a collector, but what I do is I go to museums and private collectors and ask them if I can look at their rifles. And generally I can get permission. So I take the actual rifle, measure it, weigh it, check the caliber, do all those kind of things. And then I come back here and I try to recreate the rifle. And of course I take a lot of pictures of the rifle when I'm there at all angles. But then I try to recreate the rifle as it looked. And I think this is good because it shows you the authenticity of the original rifle that I would end up recreating. Some people like brand new shiny rifles that have a lot of fiddleback and shine and all that. Well, that's okay, and everybody has their thing. But most of the original Hawken rifles were relatively plain maple, maybe a little curl, and they were well used, so the finish was generally worn off where the hand spots are. And so I try to do that, and I have a saying that I like my rifles to look like they've been out in the desert for 200 years, but when I look down the barrel or look inside the lock, I want it to be shiny and usable. And in fact, Art Russell commented, and he's had several through the years, and he said original rifles, but he said they're actually a good investment today, because this gives the hunter, shooter, an idea, and he can go out and play with an authentic rifle and not spend a fortune like you're going to lose a car or something happened to it. So that's kind of the niche that I've been in. During the last couple of years, the Hawken Shop, which is owned by Greg Roberts, and he lives in the state of Washington, he purchased the Hawken Shop from Art Russell when Art went out of business. And he produces kits only from his machine shop and sporting goods store up in Oak Harbor, Washington. When you order a kit, this is exactly what you get in a kit. Down on that end in the little burlap bag are all the screws and bolts, and we'll get it out here in a minute and take a look at them, but all the screws and bolts that you need to build the rifle. Next are the 2 very important parts, and they're in orange. The first one here is the lock, and as you can see, the lock is assembled. It works, an exact copy of a Gibbons lock. So you've got authenticity, but you've got it all done for you. And next in the little red wrapper, you get a set of double set triggers. And I'll turn this over so you can see that they're completely done. All the springs are in, all the holes are drilled, and everything is ready to go. In fact, all you do is just insert these triggers into the mortise. One of the most important things you get is the semi-inlet. And this is an exact copy of an original S. Hawken rifle that Art Russell owned. And he had it copied or pantographed. And this is an exact copy, shape and inlet and position of the barrel, position of the barrel wedges, position of the nose, and everything of that variety. So you get a semi-inlet. Now, this particular semi-inlet is a grade 2 maple, which I believe would be very characteristic of original rifles. And we offer them at higher grades for those who want them, a grade 3 and a grade 4 and even a grade 5. And basic is just a reflection of the amount of curl in the rifle. The next you get is the barrel. As you notice on that end, the bolster, it's a hooked bolster breech, is already installed. And it's been machined, and it's installed, and it's indexed upright. In other words, the bolster's 90 degrees out and everything works. That saves one a lot of time and money. And I can tell you that to be true because I build a lot of them that don't have these cuts and things done, and you'd have to do that yourself. Next, on the top of the barrel, you see we have a cut for the rear sight and we have a cut for the front sight. And they are just exactly where it should be. The front sight, the center of it, should be exactly 1.5 inches back from the muzzle. And that's where all Hawkens were cut. It gives you room to hold it and load it, okay? We buy our barrels from Rice. We get them Rice. Now, also on the barrel, here's more help for you. There are 2 cuts on the bottom of the flats, and this is for the barrel wedges. And we supply a little tendon that you can slide in there. And that's the proper distance where they're supposed to be. Okay, as you look up here, and this saves you really a lot of time, here the underrib is already on the barrel. As you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 little screws. And we have extra screws because you're going to drop them and lose them on the floor. But this is already spaced out. The barrel is drilled, not through, and it saves you making a lot of mistakes. When you get it done, you melt a little solder on the front end here, and then you pull it down and you heat the barrel a little until the solder attaches. Hawken always soldered the front end. Now, I've been told by some of the experts that they solder the back end also. And I have not detected that, but I would think it would be the wrong thing to do because you'd have 2 different pieces of metal here soldered together solid, and if one warped, then it would push pressure on the other one. But anyway, you'll always see this little circle of solder on the end of the underrib, and that means it's been soldered, and that's the way Hawken did them. So that's a feature I look for if I'm trying to identify original Hawkens or a fake one. The barrel is crowned, and there's a slight bevel up here for easier seating of the ball. We only at this time offer 1 barrel style. They're 1 in 48 twists, 10 to 12 thousandths deep grooves, and 7 grooves. They're 54 caliber, and you can get it in a 34-inch length cut or the full 36-inch. Most of the time, the 34-inch barrel length balances a little better, so we get more requests for that. Didn't have it on my list for important things. You get a hickory ramrod. And interestingly, we have a gentleman who's a draftsman, and he made a drawing of the original Hawken. And this, we get a blueprint here of the original Hawken with all dimensions, original size. So if you got anything that confuses you, you can go back and look at the original drawing. Down there on that end is a set of assembly instructions that I actually wrote. And I think it appeared maybe in Muzzle Blast. But I actually wrote that, and we've upgraded the assembly instructions because the one we previously had dated back to the Art Russell days, back to the 60s. And I don't want to dwell on this, but I point out that this kit is assembled by a man who knows a lot about Hawken rifles. That's Greg Roberts, and he's built several, and he knows the ins and outs of them, and what confuses you, and what is easy and what is hard to do. And so he's taken care of that in pre-making some of these parts, because I've spent a week doing a trigger that didn't fit, and he's got it so it just falls in the assembly inlet. Okay, here is what's in your little burlap bag. More bags. That's what's in there. These are all the parts that you need for your semi-inlet. Now this would be the butt plate, and it fits on there exactly. And as you can see, within each plastic bag related to this are the screws that you use. They're the right size, the holes have been positioned, and they're countersunk. So you can't make too many mistakes on that. And I've made a lot that I've had to redo through the years. Next, I want to show you, this is actually the tang of the hook breech. And it's fit, so it's very close, but it's, you know, in the white, but it's got the holes drilled on in it, which are exact position that you would want them on an original rifle. And that saves a lot of time and a lot of effort. You don't need a drill press to put this together. Okay, we go over here. This is the nose cap. We have an iron nose cap, which was typical in the late period guns. We have thimbles. Okay, the thimbles are soldered to the underrib. And in fact, we have even flattened the area where the thimbles go in, so you get them spaced right. And so you just put the thimbles in here and soft solder them in. Okay, that saves a lot of time and covers up a lot of mistakes. Here are the tang screws. These go through the tang of the bolster right through here, and see they're concave already. You don't have to have a drill press. All you got to do is put these through. You could do it with a hand drill and put the holes in. We give you there's a nipple and the side bolt escutcheon, properly made and properly inletted. I guess I should turn this over. They go right through here, and you just position them, drill from the lock side this way, and the little lock bolt escutcheon will be right here, okay? Here are some tang screws also. Now we have the original ones, the good ones that you're going to use. In other words, you use these for when you're building the rifle, and you booger up the heads and all that, and then when you get done, you put the good ones in. This is the rear entry thimble. It's the right size, the right shape, it has the right contours. Here are your two barrel keys that you'll position and put in. There's two for the, what do you call it, the wedges to go through. And that's cut on the bottom of the barrel. And all you do, you slide them in here where we've made the machine cuts, pound them in hard, and then maybe take a chisel and hit this a couple times so they won't go back and forth. Okay, and what's this? The last thing here is the sights. Oh yeah. We have the sights, it's going to be very, very hard to see. I don't think I can get it out. My finger's not good. But we have the sights, the rear and front sight. Now we have authentic sights. We have the front sight is a silver blade, German silver, soldered on a copper base. And that's the way the Hawken rifles were from beginning to end. The Gemmers, they used a steel base, but all of ours in the 1850s and 1860s have the German silver blade on top of a copper base. Okay, and then we have at the end, we have a part that goes to the ramrod. There's two pieces there, actually. I'll lay it over here and I won't shake so much. Two pieces. We have, this is the steel piece that goes on the bottom, and it is tapered a little, and it'll be threaded 832 for a jag for cleaning. And the other end, which you seat your ball with, there's a brass thimble that goes over that end once you space it and get it right. Now most of the guys today, they'll go in and buy one of these brass things from Ted Cash or somebody. It'll be 1.5 inches long. But in general, Hawken rifles, they were about 3/4 of an inch. And I've never seen any long ones. Now, it's hard to find original ramrods, but I just say this in general. They're about 3/4 of an inch long, and they fit right flat with the muzzle. In other words, you cut the ramrod so it's even with the muzzle. They're not down here, they're not out here. They're right with the muzzle. We supply the lock completed. In other words, all put together. And I'll turn this lock over and you can see that it's polished. It's polished and it's been tested for speed and how it works. In other words, it's not just a rough casting, it's a complete lock ready to install. I turn this back over here and you can see this is cut for the bolster. The bolster which is on the side of the barrel. This is cut and the position is proper. That's a very hard thing to get sometimes when you're just making it from scratch. We've got that all laid out for you, and so hopefully you won't make mistakes as I did at the beginning. Okay, that basically we've looked at and described most of the major parts of the rifle. To put this kit together, I wouldn't say it was for a beginner, but it's very easy to put together. If you've got a Thompson Center or something like that, you've filed on it and you want to upgrade your rifle, well, then you can go to the Hawken copy and you've got an authentic rifle. Now, to put this together, I put it together in about 1.5 days, and it might take you a little bit longer, maybe a week to do it. But don't fret. The instructions that I've written over there are very clear, and if you just go through there and follow my instructions, don't hurry. In a couple of days, you'll have it put together. Now, you won't have it sanded or the metal finish, but it'll be put together, ready to shoot. This is a rifle that I made from the kit in 1.5 days. And you'll have to finish the wood to your liking. There's a few corners that'll need to be chiseled out. In other words, we do this with a router, but you'll have to take a chisel and go down and make the square ends of a couple places. But it's very, very minor woodwork. The barrel will just drop in, the lock will drop in, and the triggers will drop in. Now, they may not be as perfect as Jim Kibler, but they're good. And what's most important, not only are they good, but they're available. Nobody else makes a Hawken kit that I know of. And these work very well. I can testify to it. Now, like I said, here is a completed rifle. It weighs about 11 pounds in a 34-inch barrel. I have color hardened the breech and the tang so they look like they're case colored. They were actually forge hardened, original ones, and they had a model gray color. They did not have the blues and reds that Turnbull shows on his products. But they're very plain, and I take them and then I brush them off with 4/0 steel wool. The tang, breech, lock, hammer, butt plate, toe plate, and trigger plate should be hardened, or at least show a hardened color to be authentic. Needless to say, you need to see 2 barrel keys. I've commented that 90% of the original Hawkens that I have examined, the barrel keys go in from the left side. Now, I don't know why, but they do. They go in from the left side. Now, I have seen some that are in from the right side, but you have to remember that there are museum curators and examiners and collectors that take the barrels out, and sometimes they don't get them in from the right side. I have a very good story I'd like to tell, and maybe I'll tell it real quick. The Mario Medina rifle has a patch box, and it's kind of a unique patch box. It's on a J&S Hawken rifle stock. And if you look at the patch box today, all the screws are not indexed, and some of them are above the level of the stock line. So what that tells me is sometime in the past, some collector took that patch box off, probably drew around it to get a pattern, and when he went to put it back on, he forgot which screw went where. So he just started putting them in, and when you tighten them down, some of them stick up, some don't, some go away. But that's a funny story that we see often in examining these original rifles. I have probably built over 100 Hawken rifles in my career. Like I said, I started in 1957. We didn't have kits back in the original days. We made them from scratch and forged the patented breech and the hook breech and all that. But today, there is only one kit that I know that's available in the United States that is proper. In fact, there's only one kit offered, period, and that is the Hawken Shop kit. And I think I've shown you that this rifle is an exact copy of a late period, probably 1860 S. Hawken. It is stamped on the barrel S. Hawken, St. Louis. We stamp it in the right place, we have the right size stamp, and the same style that Sam Hawken had. We provide that for you, and I just don't think most people have the stamps or could do that. But that's just a little benefit that you get. I have no qualms recommending this rifle. You get a nice product at the end, and I think if you just follow the instructions, look at the pictures here, which are full scale, and go to work, you're not going to have any problems. I want to thank Ethan Yazel, and I love Muzzleloading for his interest in seeing what this looks like, and hopefully I can review some other products as they come out in the future. Thank you, Ethan.
You're very welcome, Bob.